Hello, this is wmpyr here to talk about the vector principle. I first heard about the vector principle from an Escrima textbook. I'm sorry, I don't remember the title, but this is what it was talking about. Okay, so one of our most basic combos is a two-hit combo. It is an X, all right? So it looks like this. It looks like this, 1 and 2, okay? I just made an X, okay? So if I'm going to hit stickman, it would be like 1 and 2, just like so. And the X that you're making is generally something like this, okay, where you have 90-degree angles where it's adjacent, okay. And this is your typical X, and you want to be able to see this on the opponent. And you're just following the lines, so to speak, when you're actually making the motions, okay? Now the vector principle, this is where it comes in, and what it's saying is that even though you're still doing the same X technique, you can change the angles, okay? And it's still the same technique, but the angles are different. What's the benefit to that? Well, the first one, and this is, I saw the Dog Brothers utilize this and teach this, so I'm just giving them credit, is this one right here, where the X is very, very vertical. So rather than being like this on a person, what they're doing is this, very vertical. So the much, much more narrow X. Why? What's the benefit of that? Well, because the human body we are taller than we are wider. Therefore, when you go more vertical, you better chance not to miss. Okay, you go this way, you could, all this is like empty space. So really your target is just here. But if you go vertical, then you got the target becomes like so. So in that sense, it makes perfect sense. There's another way to apply the vector principle, and that is rather than going vertical, you could go very, very horizontal. So like a very sideways X, okay, a very wide X. So the opposite of the vertical one, like so. Now, why would you use this one? What's the logic behind that? Well, if you're making your X very horizontal like this one, the second one right here, then we could target the arms. So I go for the arms, and if I miss, I could hit the body, and I even might hit the other arm too. So that's my number one. So in one stroke, I'm able to possibly hit 3 targets in one stroke. So then you also add the second stroke, and it's possibly six targets that I can hit. Now I don't need to hit it, but it just increases my chance that way. So that's also a very interesting one. And other than very vertical and very horizontal, what else is there? Well, there's a mixture. Okay, so I could go vertical on the first one and very horizontal on the second one. Or I could go very horizontal on the first one and very vertical on the second one. So you can mix and match, right? What else is there? Well, when you add curvature, okay, so when you add a curve, now you can go horizontal and vertical. And then that's the first stroke. The second stroke can also do the same thing, where you're combining. Now you can go vertical and horizontal, all right? So once you incorporate curving movements, it literally starts to become like we're getting in the realm of infinite number of possibilities, all right? So now this last part that I want to introduce to you guys, okay, is we have the same X, 1 and 2, right? So 1, 2, 1, 2, and we could make it more smooth. So we're transforming the X into a figure 8, and a lot of you already know this, right? So you start involving the wrist, and when you do that, right, as you can see, it becomes a lot more smoother, a lot more circular, and this is still an X, right? I'm still going down and then down. So I'm still going 1 and 2. But as you can see, because I'm involving the wrist and because I'm making it very circular, the angle of contact is no longer the same. So 1 and 2 earlier, what I was doing is 1 and 2. You can see the number 1 is at this angle. Okay, so it's going to hit Stickman over here on his left temple, his left jaw, his left side of the neck, his left side of the collarbone. You know, these are all possibilities, right? Because I'm coming this way. And then my number 2 strike goes from the other side. It goes at this angle. So then it's his right side of the temple, of the jaw, of the neck, of the collarbone, or arm, or torso, whatever, right? So it's here and here. But when you start doing this, you can see, look, I start here. So it's, my number 1 is not this. My number 1 is this. It starts this way. And then my number 2 is not this, not at this angle, right here, passing my shoulder. Instead, it's at this angle, okay? Now you could play with that, all right? How do you play with that? Well, when you actually practice making contact, you go number 1, you see, rather than hitting this way, my number 1's hitting this way now, okay? So this is my number 1, and then my number 2 doesn't even make contact, and back to 1, 2, 1, and 2. So you can see the number 2 is only used for momentum. So my number 1 comes here, number 2, momentum, 1, 2, 1 hits, but 1's hitting this way. Not at this angle, but this way. So these are some of the possibilities to play around with and actually practice, make contact on tires and, you know, something like this. So that's it for now. Thank you for viewing and take care, folks.